This is a quick video on how to reverse Williams Service Bulletin SS41 on an F14 Tomcat pinball machine. If you go to the Internet Pinball Database, the Service Bulletin is downloadable. Print that out, and that tells you what it is. Basically what it is, if you don't have a prototype F14 or a very early production F14, the two red flashers at the top of the machine do not have a flash bowl behind them. They decided to take these out in early production because the socket was shorting the switch matrix out. So if you want to reverse that, the only information I could find on the web was to just reverse the service bulletin. But there's some very important parts that they don't tell you in the service bulletin on how to wire these two flash lamps if your game is a later production game. It doesn't have any of the wiring in it. They took it out on the production line. So the first thing to do is take the three screws out and take this plastic out of your game. And here's where the flash lamps used to be. So you'll need to go to your favorite pinball parts supplier and get a couple 89 sockets. And you also want to insulate these somehow so that they don't short out on the back of this stand-up target. So what I did is I took this stand-up target out, I put a piece of electrical tape on the back, and then I wrapped electrical tape around the base of the socket so it can't short out. And then drill your hole. This flash lamp's mount right behind the O target and the A target. So once you have them taped up, put your bulb in, you can screw them right in. Now the wiring, the way the game sits now, these two flash lamps that are already installed in the game are wired together. The early production games were not like that. These sockets are supposed to be separate. So if you go into your coil test, these will be on flasher 9. So the service bulletin tells you to change two wires on these. If you go onto your play field, the flash lamps multiplex with the right eject kicker, which is right here, and they use this resistor board right here. So as per the service bulletin, you move the black-white wire that used to be attached to the white wire, move that to the other side of the board, and now those two flashers up top will be separate. One's flasher 9 and one is flasher 10. The two flashers that were removed in coil test will be flasher 7. If you ever went into coil test, when it gets to flasher 7 on the coil test, nothing happens because those flashers aren't installed. So to add them, and this is the part I cannot find any information on the web, so this should be very useful because these two flashers are so important because the 28 other flashes in this game just aren't enough, and the more flashes the better. So down here is your AC select relay, and this is your AC select diode switching board. Basically one wire comes in for this flasher. Once again, this is flasher 7, which is tied with the right eject hole, which is up here. It comes in from the CPU board from the transistor to B7 input on this diode switching board. On C7, it goes to this right eject. That's the trigger for this right eject coil. On A7 on the switcher board, there's nothing there because they removed the wiring for this flasher. So all I did was added a wire to A7 on the diode switching board. That's your trigger wire. You need to add that to an open spot on a flasher resistor board, which are all these boards with the resistors on them. Check your resistors because a lot of times these burn up and fall off. So I chose this board right here, but there's another board here that has an open spot, and I think there's one more with an open spot, but it doesn't matter. So basically you're taking your wire from A7 on the diode switching board and bringing it up to a flash resistor board, and you're putting that, you're soldering that on the board. It says driver. On the other side, on the same lamp board, the next connection over says lamp. So lamp coming out of the resistor board is going to go to the flash lamp. Now, the other side of the flash lamp, there's two tabs on the flash lamp. So one is your transistor coming from the flash resistor board. The other side is solenoid power. And you have to make sure that you pull this from a flash lamp solenoid power 24 volt, not a coil, because when this flasher is activated, the AC relay is in the A position for flasher. So initially it was an orange wire, so you can jump it off an orange wire of any other flash lamp on the game that is multiplexed. And then once you have that hooked up, this bulb will flash. I'm in coil test and I'm on flasher 7, which normally doesn't do anything. But now that I have all my wiring hooked up, now I have flasher 7 flashing. So after you mount the 2 flashers in the red domes that we're missing, which will now look like that. These are in coil test flasher 7, and they are linked together. So you're just bringing the transistor wire, you're jumping it from this one to the other red one, and then the solenoid power you can also jump between the two. So now you're going to have what used to be just 2 flashers that flash together as flasher 9. Now you're going to have 3 sets of flashers that flash separately. You're going to have flasher 9, flasher 10, and you're going to have 2 flasher 7s. So this will reproduce the light show that Steve Ritchie initially designed for this game, and that was taken out because of shorts to the switch matrix. But we're taking care of that with the electrical tape and the weaker flipper coils up top to prevent that target from bending. Alright, so I did all the wiring. It's actually a lot of wiring because you got to loop all around the underside of the playfield, so make sure you have at least 10 feet of wiring. But we got these wired up, and I'm in flasher test, and I'm on flasher 7, which used to do nothing, and now I got these 2, which will be the red flashers flashing, and that's flasher 7. So then I'm going to go to flasher 9. Now flasher 9 is now just this bulb. It used to be both of these together, but now it's just this is flasher 9. These are flasher 7. And then if you go to flasher 10, this is now flashing. The only thing flasher 10 did before was these 2 flashers on the back glass, and now it's also hooked up to here. So now this is set up exactly the way the game was initially designed. So that's it. It's pretty simple. As long as you have the information. It took me a couple nights to figure this out since I couldn't find the information on the internet. So hopefully I'll be doing more videos like this. And I'm Pin Dude from VintagePinballStore.com.